Hey, day drinkers. How you doing? It's good to see you. Please, look, showing you my bra strap. So classy. This is my 40th interview. I can't believe it. Like, first of all, where has the time gone? What are days? I don't know, but I've done 40 of these amazing interviews, and my 40th interview is the best one yet. If you were reading romance novels in 2008, a book came out called Private Arrangements by Sherry Thomas. And if you were reading romance novels, it felt like it was something so brand new. It was something that as a writer, I was like infuriated and inspired by. And as a reader, it was like, I was breathless about it. And I'm talking to friends about it, just absolutely breathless. And so that author was Sherry Thomas. Private Arrangements was her first book, blew our socks off. And every book after that has been like more and more amazing. She's written YA. She has written science fiction. She even has dabbled in contemporary romance. But we're here today to talk about her amazing series, the Lady Sherlock series. So it's a Sherlock Holmes, flip it around, female protagonist. It's delightful, top to bottom delightful. Hi, Carol. Hi, Leslie. If you have questions, if you're here to see Sherry, please feel free to ask. I'm getting better at looking at the question board, but I'm going to give you the back cover copy because I was told that that's helpful, and then I'll bring Sherry on. So, Charlotte Holmes, this is for Murder on Cold Street, book 5 in the Lady Sherlock series. Sherlock, I've been drinking this Sherry drink, and it's something. Charlotte Holmes, Lady Sherlock, is back solving new cases in the Victorian set mystery series from USA Today best-selling author of The Art of the Theft. Inspector Treadles, Charlotte Holmes' friend and collaborator, has been found locked in a room with 2 dead men, both of whom worked with his wife at the great manufacturing enterprise she has recently inherited. Rumors fly. Had Inspector Treadles killed the men because they opposed his wife's initiatives at every turn? Had he killed in a fit of jealous rage because he suspected Mrs. Treadles of harboring deeper feelings for one of the men? To make matters worse, he refuses to speak on his own behalf, despite the overwhelming evidence against him. Charlotte finds herself in a case strewn with lies and secrets, which lies are to cover up small sins and which secrets would flay open a past better left forgotten. Not to mention, how could she concentrate on murders when Lord Ingram, her oldest friend and sometime lover, is at last dangling before her the one thing she has always wanted? I mean, it's so good, guys. Let's bring Sherry in. Hey, Sherry.
Hey, I heard you say something, so I can talk now.
Yeah, you can talk. I was saying, right. Sometimes things get lost. Sherry, thanks for stopping by.
Oh, it's so much fun. It's so great to see your beautiful face.
Oh, Sherry, that sort of flattery will get you invited back over and over again. Do you remember 2008? Do you remember when Private Arrangements came out?
Like 2008. I feel like I have a closer recollection of 2007, which was when they gave out arcs of Private Arrangement at that year's RWA, and that was the first time I signed arcs. Was that free signing you give away? What was the RWA, the autographing session?
Yeah,
it's like before you become a real author or before you make people pay for your stuff. You first give them away, and it's so gratifying to have people lined up, to get a book, even though they're there to get free book. It's still so gratifying. It's like so much better than when they haul you out to the real life to face a live signing, and you're like, oh gosh,
everyone's like,
would anybody come? Yes. So I remember that autographing session to give away Private Arrangements very well. Yes.
Do you have a memory of hearing sort of like the way that people were talking about this book? Were you like aware of the impact this book was going to have?
I do, but I am the kind of person who kind of like stuff kind of goes in one ear and out the other, good things and bad things both. I liked the book, so it was good for me. And my main thing was I was wondering how well it was going to do. Alas, didn't do as well as my publisher hoped. Because I think it was a little.
Does that ever happen?
Yeah, it was like a little too different, maybe in some ways from the prevailing thing, and also had a different kind of cover. It was very recognizable cover, but yeah, I remember it. It was overall a very good experience, I think, to come out that way and all that.
You're still doing it, so.
Thank you.
So this is
I mean, we are like old folks who are still around, so that counts for something in this day and age, I guess.
Into the long-term care facility. We have to talk briefly about this drink. So I'm drinking a sherry cobbler. Sherry's drinking sweet vermouth plain.
Yeah, I don't have anything to mix it with. And I don't even know whether it goes with oranges.
Probably, but you're not going to want to really drink.
And also, just to let you know, I don't know when the sweet vermouth is from.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of
I don't know how long it has been in my house. So if I keel over in the middle of this conversation, that's by sweet vermouth. Yeah.
Yeah, you can use that in your next album. Well, this is my first. I was really smug because initially I thought if I could get Sherry Thomas to drink absinthe with me live on Facebook, that would be the best thing ever. But then, like, you can't even find absinthe.
I think nowadays you can find absinthe that's actually made the new way. It doesn't have that hallucinogenic thing anymore. Yeah. But being a non-drinker, I wouldn't know where to find it.
It was expensive, so the little bit of research I did, it was expensive. So I had to give up that dream, and then I found
get gross sherry instead, because you were just telling me it's gross.
So first of all, I'm really proud. I was a little smug. This is the first Victorian cocktail that came. This was the first cocktail that came with a straw. Oh, Sherry, look at you trying this.
No. I mean, I actually like sweet vermouth a lot. I like sweet drinks. I learned about vermouth when I was on a British Airways flight when I was like 19 or something. I think I was going to France. And you know, back then on international flights, they give you free liquor. Yeah. And they said, "What would you like?" After I made sure it was free, because I was a poor immigrant. I said, "What do you have that's sweet?" And she said, "Sweet vermouth. I'll give it to you with some club soda." And I was like, "This is so good."
How absolutely fancy you must have felt on that.
I felt super fancy. Yes. I really did, even though it was economy class. Now tell me about you and that Sherry. You were so proud.
I was really smug because it was the first Victorian cocktail with a straw, and I thought I would really impress you.
How do you know it came with a straw?
Because that's what Bon Appetit drink page told me.
It said Bon Appetit drinks actually said it was the first Victorian drink to come with a straw.
Yeah, and ice.
Oh,
ice is a big part of it. Sherry is disgusting. I mean, it's really. And now I have a big bottle of it at home. So if you're watching,
make vinegar out of it if you know how.
There we go. I'm just going to cook with it.
Oh, yeah, cook with it exactly. I didn't give a party. I hosted a party for my local RWA group, romance writers group, many years ago at my house when I was like president of the group that year. It might have been 2012. And I got this gigantic bottle of tequila from Costco because I figured these are romance writers. They're going to drink up something fierce. And these romance writers quite disappointed me. And I was left with most of this gigantic bottle of tequila, which in subsequent years was used bit by bit in cooking, because in China, when you cook fish and meat and stuff, you put in a little bit of liquor inside. When I learned something called vodka crust, in which instead of adding pure water to pie crust, if you add a little alcohol, it actually has less water content than water, so it makes your pie crust come out better. And immediately I said to myself, I'm going to buy a bottle of vodka to use for this crust. So I looked up the alcohol content of tequila. It was identical to that of vodka. So guess who had tequila crust, pie crust? It made for a fantastic pie.
Sherry, that is the best use of disappointing tequila.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe you'll be having a sherry pie crust.
That's right. This sherry is gonna.
If it's like 40% alcohol or something like that.
So we're gonna play a game in a little bit. called What Are They Actually Saying? Victorian England version.
Right,
I have
right.
one that is perfect for day drinking. So I'm going to give you the slang. You try to tell me what the slang means.
Okay, and I would tell everybody, I have seen something like that, a list like that, when I used to buy these Uncle John's bathroom readers for my kids. And I don't know about your list, but in the list I read, I gave up halfway through because I was like, I don't know any of these. They all sound vaguely dirty, yet none of them are dirty. They were just like meaning various things that had nothing to do with the words on the page.
No, it's a lot about drinking, loose women, and sausages.
Yeah, I shall fail miserably. Yes,
no, you're going to be great. I actually want this to catch on, so I'm going to start using this.
Okay.
So here's the slang. Here's my teenage son. He's going to run out of here real quick. Oh, you're on camera! Anyway, he has to pick up his math stuff. I'm in his classroom right now.
Oh.
I know, studying from home. So here's the slang. Call it 8 bells.
My expression should convey like how much I know about this. Call it 8 bells. Is that like 3 sheets to the wind?
No, but that's a good guess.
It means?
No, call it 8 bells. It was bad form for the guys in the Navy to drink before 8 bells, which is like noon.
Oh.
When they would go drinking before noon, they would say.
So they're doing this. They're doing what we're doing. They're day drinking.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Right?
True. Yeah, it's only 3 o'clock here, but heck, yeah.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Okay, so let's talk about Murder on Cold Street. This is actually a Christmas novel.
It's actually a Christmas novel. I like after the fact, I was like, next year, if they ever print more of this book, once people go back to bookstores, we should put a mistletoe on it.
Sorry. Okay, go away. I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Oh, I'm just saying that next year they should like put a mistletoe on it if they ever reprint this book once people go back to the bookstore and start buying physical copies again. Yes.
Yeah, but it's like the crime has to be solved by Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
So you
something like that.
Really tight little. Sorry, one more second. This tight little time frame, and then you've got like, I mean, there's as many mentions of Christmas cake as you could possibly get in there, and her beautiful costumes. Like it's pretty delightful Christmas novel. It kind of checks all the boxes of what you
right. Because when I was writing it, I was so focused on the plot. My critique partner was like, "It's Christmas. You need to tell me what they're drinking, what they're eating, make it more Christmassy." So then I was like, in the revisiting, I was like, okay, where can I fit in a Christmas carol? Like she said, so she gave me 3 different Christmas carols that were already like popular by that era. So I managed to shoehorn all of them in at some point in the book. It was like, it was a dreadful revision, but yes, we got all the Christmas things.
Sherry, I feel like this is a bit off. I feel like you have told me of all the terrible, and I've heard some doozies, terrible revision stories. Yours are the worst.
Are they? Yes, maybe just because I don't shy about telling them. I feel like revision stories are fun to tell once you get over, once you finally climb out of the pit of the revision despair and get it done behind you. Then it's like a fun war story to tell.
It is. It's like a fun war story. So was this?
Yeah. So I'm like one of those old school soldiers who don't mind telling war stories, whereas like maybe some other people might be so traumatized they never speak of it. Yeah, I'll be like, oh yeah, I was in that, I was in that trench with a one-legged man whose other leg was rotting, and
I think there's also like a sense of obviously as a person with terrible revision stories and who loves a good revision story, it can feel like failure, right? Like having to absolutely rewrite a book. I mean, wasn't it not quite a husband that you had to like over Christmas?
Pretty much over 3 weeks, I had to rewrite about 60% of it. And I sometimes I forget how bad it was, but then I sort of remember, hey, like I used to actually call my editor during that time, and my editors never hear from me. Like, unless like their actual hair is on fire, they would never hear from me. for anything. But for that one, my editor and I actually spoke to each other on the phone during Christmas, because I was basically telling her, where do you want this book to go? You want this to happen before that, or that to happen before this? Because I had lost the ability to think. I was just like, tell me what happens, plot wise, where do you want to go? I will take care of the writing. And, it was.
It's funny. We have a comment here. Carol Carson, Not Quite a Husband, is on my
keep
Carol.
Forever. Yeah.
And it's one of my favorites too. I mean, like, there's something to be said for those books that come out of the fire like that. They're like, honed.
Sometimes the thing is, writing is one of those things that if it takes longer, it doesn't necessarily mean it's better.
Right.
Even the whole book takes long to write, from conception to final execution. Sometimes it's like the most intense period when you're forced to like struggle with it, where you're like, really like, St. George and the dragon and whatnot, deep in the, in the dragon stink and, being breathed upon by all that fire. That's when your brain actually, really engages with the story. You eat and you drink, you breathe the story 24/7, and interesting things come out from that. Yeah.
So this was not an easy one either, is what you're telling us. Murder on Cold Street gave you
it was not an easy one, because I had written my young adult Mulan adaptation, like alternating it with Lady Sherlock 3 and Lady Sherlock 4. And see, that's another book. I have forgotten about how bad it was.
Mulan?
Mulan. Until I read in an interview somewhere where I said, like, my critique partner is so tough. Yet after I met and worked with my Mulan editor, I realized my critique partner was only getting me ready for her. I had forgotten about it. I had totally, by the time I finished one more book with my critique partner, I had totally forgotten I said that.
It can be crazy. I mean, that was your first experience with that editor, right?
Yeah.
You had worked with that editor before, and you had worked for a while with your editors for your adult fiction, right?
With my critique, yeah, and I think.
And critique
she actually edited. She actually edited, and she edited hard, and when her line edits came back, was the same time my critique partner's comments came back. This is the first person who's ever given me more comments than my critique partner. There was so many comments from her, and it was like my software couldn't handle it. My Word would actually crash.
Oh,
because
no.
There were so many comments piled up to the side. Like, if I want to just look at one, look at the other, the whole program will have to, the whole app shuts down. I have to reopen it, and it took me like 3 days to get through. The first chapter.
Oh no!
And this is line edit. This is not like major revision. It's just line edit.
Oh my God! See, Sherry, you are the only. Maybe you're the only one who talks about it, but that's crazy.
Am I the only one who talks about it? Like, maybe other people just write better in their first drafts. I am like, I used to write better first drafts too. I used to write more polished first draft, but then my big picture things will go wrong. So no.
Well, that's an interesting segue to talk about this Lady Sherlock series. So this is the 5th book.
Mm-hmm.
This book's like and I can't even imagine when you started writing it, but like, we're talking about over 5 years now.
Right.
So how are you doing keeping the big picture stuff while also like some books have cliffhangers, some of them have had cliffhangers. This book is like very clearly, a guy trapped in a room with 2 dead bodies, that sort of like not a trope, but sort of like
it's a class. It's kind of sort of the semi-classic lock room mystery. Yeah.
Right. And the book before, The Art of the Theft, was like a heist book. So how are you approaching each book while at the same time keeping an eye on the overarching plot?
Hold on just a second. I keep trying to see whether I can find some of the comments from my critique partner, especially for this book. Oh, because it's like freaking brutal. Some of the things she said for this. I should have done this before. I didn't think we would talk in so much depth about. I opened it. Let me answer your question first, and then let's see if we have time in the end. I will dive through it and see if we can find some particularly juicy bits of me being chewed out top to bottom. So about what each book has to be, I am not a planner. I am incapable of planning like into the future. If I sit down in the morning and plan out my day, that is like such a victory. Most time I forget to do that also. I don't know what I'm doing 2 days from now. I don't know what I'm doing next week. So my husband was like, one day we were just talking about it. He said, I am actually astonished that you write novels because that's such a large scale undertaking. And I was like, that's why I was so bad at it for so long.
No, never.
No, but you didn't see. You didn't see the behind the scenes work. You don't see all the work that's gone into it and not used because it was done badly. Right. Nowadays I've gotten better at realizing when something has gone off track. Like usually by 10, 12,000. If I feel a book gets more and more difficult to write.
Oh, instead of easier.
Yes, that's like, it doesn't have to get easier. Where am I? Did I? Oh, okay. It doesn't have to get easier, but it shouldn't get so difficult that I'm just staring and going, oh my God, when can I take a break and have a cookie and play a game? Like at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's not the direction it's supposed to be going.
8 bells somewhere. 8 bells somewhere.
Yeah. So one, I've gotten a little better at that, and two, when it comes to writing these books are actually very much thought up one book at a time. One book at a time means like after I finished writing book 1, I literally had no idea where book 2 was supposed to go. This is a story I used to tell when I was on the circuit talking about writing these books back, when people used to do book tours.
Right. In the days before.
I haven't done book tours. I forgot the story, but the plot for book 2 actually was what I thought would happen in book 5. I didn't know what was going to happen in books 2, 3, or 4, but I thought it would be nice if it happened in book 5. And I can tell you this: what happened in book 2 is Sherlock Holmes and her dear friend Lord Ingram. In book 1, we see that they probably have feelings for each other, but he's married, and unhappily so. And so they don't do anything except, do all that Victorian sexual tension and longing. And then they in book 2, Lady Ingram, Lord Ingram's wife, comes to Sherlock Holmes to ask Sherlock Holmes to find her lost beloved, who's supposed to meet with her once a year, but did not show up this year for one reason or another. That was originally what I thought would happen in book 5. So those people who complain that the romance burns so slowly, you had no idea how slowly I was going to burn it.
It was going to go so much.
Yeah, it was going to go so slowly. It was only because, like, as I was staring down the barrel of number 2, I was like, I have no idea what to do. But there's an idea for book 5. Like, screw book 5. We'll use it right now.
I had a very smart editor. I learned a lot from Shauna Summers at Penguin.
Shauna was never my editor, but she was like one of the people who set in on the acquisition of private arrangements. So yes, love her.
One of the smartest people in publishing by miles. And she was like, she always said, careful.
I know.
That if you're
death by orange in your sweet vermouth.
If you're holding on to something, like if you're just filling a word count to get to something, it means you need to move that thing up
forward.
Just it's the next thing.
Give it to us right now.
Just do it, and it usually means that you crack open a whole nother wall of story on the other side of it. And
afterwards,
you completely did.
Yeah. And so for book 3, so then after book 2, I thought, what happened in book 3 was again what I thought would happen in book 5. Because I again didn't know what to do for book 3, so I was like, well, screw book 5. Book 5 will have to look after itself when it gets rolled around, and so I brought that idea to book 3, and for 4 and 5, I always want to do a high story. That's just like, sorry, it's just in my blood. I love action, and my critique partner was the one who said, "Hey, how about if you make Inspector Treadles have to come to Sherlock Holmes for help?"
Right.
And so it turned out to be like his wife had to come to her for help, but it's to help him, which turned out to be more or less the same thing. Yes.
One of the things I really marvel at in the course of these 5 books is that in the first book, you give us all these characters. We meet the Treadles, we meet Charlotte and her sisters, we meet Ingram and his brother. I mean, we do have other people without spoiling anything that you do meet along the way, and obviously Moriarty. But for the most part, and I feel like this is true about your romances too, is that you give us the universe. And instead of like expanding the universe, I mean, if I was writing a 5-book mystery series, we would have 30,000 players at this point. But you just keep kind of drilling down and finding conflict and mystery and story deeper inside the characters instead of adding more onto it. Like it's astonishing to me. And do you think about that when you started the book? Were you like, okay, I'm going to have enough people here to give us room?
Well, I mean, each book does introduce new characters in some ways, but I also find that I think in a way this is what I have learned from reading the Inspector Armand Gamache books set in French Canada, set in Quebec, in which somehow all the murders always involve in one way or the other this tiny village, so tiny it's not even on the map, and you go like, that is a cursed village, rationally speaking. No. Everybody should have moved out like 10 years before, because like, you know, whoever lives there dies. Yet she managed to make such a beautifully tight-knit community, and managed to make like somehow the events impact them, and so they can participate in it this way and that. So I was like, oh, when I'm this is one of the few conscious choices I made at the beginning of this series. I was like, I want to create a sense of community like that. And another choice I made was I didn't want Charlotte personally to be in danger every book, because I feel like personally I have trouble believing I feel like if you're in danger too long, you know, it's kind of like have you ever seen kids play soccer? You know, young kids playing soccer. If one team is really good and the other team like really mediocre, the ball is always in front of the mediocre team's goal, right? Right. So even if they defend valiantly, the other team is taking so many shots. Yeah. Sooner or later, a shot goes in. Sooner or later, another shot goes in. So I feel like if you're constantly in personal danger, sooner or later you die. That's just like
it's so long you can make that work.
Right. So like I didn't want my Lady Sherlock to be in constant danger herself, but I do want the events in the story to have some stake, like you know, to like impact her and her community in some way. So so that was in part the reason how it happened. It is a bit limiting in some way, but I do like to expand a little bit book by book. That's just not necessarily super fast. Like I cannot remember a cast of thousands. I can barely remember my own children's name.
It's a little bit like every time I open it up, I'm like, oh, the team's back together, right? You know, like
yeah.
And it is the effectiveness, and you're right. Where
and another thing I learned about the Inspector Gamache book was that a lot of times I really don't go for the mysteries. I go to visit the recurring characters. Yeah. So I wanted to make like a visitable set of like a set of recurring character you want to spend some time with.
Well, and I mean, as a romance reader, you know, first and foremost and always, like I also go back for that romance, and you have created this slow burn over 5 books, and like again, it's instead of like creating more conflict, you just keep drilling down on the conflict. Like just the choice of words that they say to each other have such repercussions. And so do you have that mapped out? Are you editing that to make it more?
I didn't have it mapped out per se, but when I made this conflict in the first place, I thought, in the first book, it seemed to be like he's married. That's their main conflict. But your expression,
and I keep drinking it.
I am enjoying this vermouth much better, but I am not a drinker. If I actually take this much, I'm going to fall asleep like right away. Be like, yeah. But I wanted their conflict to be kind of like an onion.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of set up that way. It was set up that way so that on the very top, it was the external conflict that he's married. Once you remove that, I still want there to be various other kind of conflict. Another conflict was he is very much the kind of person who has like decided to stick with the status quo, whatever his feelings about the status quo or societal status quo is. He wanted to be a gentleman, who is acknowledged to be a gentleman, in which case he exhibits all the virtues expected of him. And taking up with a loose woman like Sherlock Holmes has become is obviously none of that. So that's that. Yeah, so that is the second layer of conflict. But underneath that, there's also like the conflict of, is Sherlock Holmes capable of love? Is Charlotte Holmes capable of love? Does she just like desire him and treats him like a pet, like she enjoys having around? Is she capable of the kind of emotional growth that will enable her to fully embrace this relationship and to have with him, not necessarily in a traditional kind of heterosexual relationship, but kind of workable one at least.
Right.
So that would be like the next question.
Well, you do have that beautiful line in this one where, and I'm paraphrasing, where it's like the fear of offering this to her, and then that's all that she ever wants from him. I mean, which I thought was just this like, and again, it's just that it is that beautiful peeling of the onion for sure. Have you written yourself into a corner? Like, have you gotten to a place where you're like, why did I say that in book 2? Like where you wish you could go back and change
so
something?
So far not yet, because other than what's immediately having to do with the case and whatnot, I actually don't say much about them. I don't give them a ton of recollection, a ton of where they were, this and that. So mostly they have not limited themselves. Like I don't have them say a lot of sweeping things about themselves or give like, for example, has Charlotte ever liked anyone else?
Oh.
Have I said she definitely hasn't?
Not once.
Not once, right? We just know that she likes him and he's unavailable, but he's been married for 7 years. In that time, for example, has she ever looked at someone else and go, "Hey, you seem okay too"?
Sherry, are you giving us a little tip?
I am not. I am just giving this as an example of what you do not know about these characters.
Yeah.
Because I also don't know these things about these characters, so I don't decide for them. So, for example, when an old girlfriend of Mrs. Watson came back into her life in the previous book, and I was like, "Yeah, that feels right."
It does.
And
yeah.
I have never said that she was strictly hetero.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because by not saying these things about them, I like keep them open for other things. So I have not really backed myself into a corner. But let's see. Yeah.
Time. Well, and it's funny because like Charlotte as a character, and she's driving this boat. It feels like has she surprised you? The more that you've written about her, have you like turned a corner and been like, oh, well, look at Charlotte, like just been like surprised by some facet that you were able to find in her? Because I feel like she's changed and grown and revealed different parts while at the same time being so perfectly and delightfully more herself.
I feel like Charlotte in many ways has turned out to be kinder than I first supposed. I never thought that she should be kind or not. Your main concern when you write a Sherlock Holmes character is like, are they smart enough? It's not like,
right.
But she's very cool. She has kept that Holmesian coolness. But I feel like she's really very kind in the way that she's almost completely non-judgmental.
Yeah.
Like Mrs. Watson is also Mrs. Watson is very kind, but she's like much more how to put it this way, she's much more susceptible to the judgment of her age.
Right.
Right. She has to kind of like peel those back so that she sees things with more humane eyes. But Charlotte, as such, is not affected by so much by external views and perspectives. So when she doesn't judge you, it's really that, you know, partly because she herself does not. This external judgment doesn't factor into her thinking as much, except when she has to put on her particular lens on to live in the world and think about and filter it. Okay, what are other people going to think about it? Yeah.
And I know you get this question all the time, but I have to ask it, particularly with the like the release of the Enola Holmes. Did you watch the Enola Holmes?
I did. I watched Enola Holmes. Yeah.
So what makes Sherlock Holmes so compelling and ripe for makeovers, ripe for twists, ripe for feminists, you know, on its head?
First of all, Sherlock Holmes is competence porn. It's always been what I feel. Sherlock Holmes is competence porn. This is somebody who, you know, who lives up to his. If he brags, he lives up to his brags. Right. If you say he says he's going to do it, he's going to do it. And you know, sometimes my husband and I discuss workplace and like the kind of employees that he has to deal with now that he has moved into middle management. He said it's really, really hard to actually find people who actually do their job well without you having to keep a close watch on them. He's like, it really is hard, especially the more complex the work gets. Yeah. So you find somebody like Sherlock Holmes, you tell them your problem, and your problem is solved. Yeah. That is like extremely good competence porn.
Very comforting.
Very, very comforting. And two, it's this. Can we swear on here?
Yeah, I mean it's just Facebook.
Right. Sherlock Holmes is so no fucks given. That is again competent. I mean, that's again appealing, and it's appealing in such a way that that his competence is what enables him to give no fucks. Yeah. Because no matter what other people may think of him, they still have to come to him for help. Right. Yes, which was exactly what my critic partner intended when she said, "Oh, make Treadles have to go to Charlotte for help because Treadles, has to just stick up his ass and whatnot." So I think those two are like, in many ways, that's what everybody dreams of being. You have this, to have agency, to have so much agency over your life that you are allowed all your idiosyncrasies, and other people basically have to, deal with it. Suck it up and deal with you. So this is really appealing for men, and I feel like it's even more appealing for women because we have never been allowed that. There are lots of men who have done sort of these things. The world abounds with difficult male geniuses, but women difficult or women anything, they get shot down much sooner. Yeah. And it's funny, in the first book, for those of you, if you haven't read, I'm not advocating for women to be difficult. I'm just saying, men shouldn't be difficult geniuses either. Like, there's nothing special about genius. Be nice. Treat people kindly. The first book really, really, really wrestles with this idea of a woman with, who's extremely competent, the smartest person in the room, doesn't give an F, and it doesn't care how people judge her. Mm-hmm. But how all of that works in Victorian England is a mess. The fight she has to fight, and the things that she has to do, and the people she has to ally herself with, that's the whole first book is sort of setting up the framework. Right. The first book is kind of an origin story. I've always felt that, when I was writing that book, was when I understood why people say origin stories suck, because you have to shove the origin story in along with the actual story. But it's so effective, and it creates this great launching pad for the rest of these books. So. Right. And the interesting thing, sorry to interrupt you, but the interesting thing is this is very much written with today's audience in mind, because I remember having I remember a friend from my same romance group said, "Oh, I can never write historical setting books because the constraints on people's lives would just like kill me." And I'm thinking like, don't you know what kind of constraints on our lives, future women will be talking about for this current era that, we still earn 70 cents to the dollar, expected to do most of the housework despite, also holding down career and blah, blah, blah. You don't feel it because you are in it. So very much when I talk about what Charlotte faces, it's what women face today. It's exactly the same. It's the degree has lessened, but everything is still there.
Yeah. The expectation and the pressure. Yeah. So can you tell us what is next for our band of crime solvers? Is there more books? There's got to be more books.
Yeah. I finished the first draft of book 6.
Oh, okay.
Already. I mean, it's a terrible first draft. It's terrible in the way that most of my other first drafts are not even that terrible, because a lot of times by 10,000 words I have to go back and restart. This one I didn't. I just was like, well, it doesn't seem to have gone that badly, and I'm not having that much trouble. So I just kept writing. So it went all the way up to almost 60,000 words, just like without any revision. So it's like
you can't trust that.
I don't even remember what I wrote, frankly.
That feels scary.
Right. And so the thing that kicks off this book is Moriarty comes to visit.
Yes.
So yes, you can know this much.
Oh, that's great.
I actually don't know because the title I submitted got picked. They just said, "What do you want the title of this book to be?" And I was like, "This one sounds nice." The title I submitted got picked, and I have to check with my publisher whether they have already sent it out elsewhere, because the title kind of like tells you more about the book. And I was like, because I don't know whether they sent it out or not, so I can't say it here.
I get it.
I should have done that ahead of time. But yeah, but it's got an interesting title.
The titles are great in this series. The titles are really like they're atmospheric. They point you in a direction. Thank
you.
Yeah, I really like it.
I'm going to say thank you very much, and I take it as a compliment, because I actually came up with all the titles in the series.
That never happens.
It almost never happens because when the first book, when they said the first book, what do you want the title to be called? Do you have any suggestions? I said, yeah, my working title is Studying Scarlet Women. And they say, yeah, probably not, because people won't get the reference. I was like, call it whatever you like, because I've been around the block a few times by now, and by then I knew it was like it's going to be called whatever. And
it's the perfect title.
Yeah, and they kept it. I was really surprised to see it. So the second one didn't have a title until I was almost finished with the book, and almost finished means like the last few paragraphs were just saying, okay, this is going to happen in the next draft. And I thought there was going to be a fight. I thought there was going to be a brawl for some reason near the end of the second book. So I was like, hey, a brawl in Belgravia should be the title.
Doesn't have the same ring.
But then I realized there wasn't going to be a brawl. So maybe like a conspiracy sounds better, because there definitely was a conspiracy. The third one I borrowed from a Sherlock Holmes title when I wasn't yet sure what the plot was going to be.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So he wrote a book called The Valley of Fear. So I simply looked up synonyms for valley.
Hollow.
Yeah. So I gave them two choices. I said, I like either Hollow of Fear or the Rift of Fear. I actually still like the Rift of Fear better, but everybody else liked the Hollow of Fear.
Yeah,
so I was like, oh well. And the fourth one, I submitted The Art of Subterfuge. And they were like, nobody knows what subterfuge means. Let's call it The Art of Duplicity. And I was like, how's duplicity any less of a $5 word than subterfuge, if subterfuge is a $5 word? I was like, if that's the case, let's just find a word everybody knows what they mean.
There we go. The art of the theft. Yeah. The art of the
art of theft. The art of theft.
Art of theft, right. The art of the steal? No. Okay, well, speaking of words nobody knows, I'm gonna give you a quick.
So far, Amy Ann has all been my suggestion, and I think like maybe I should make marketing work harder. I should make marketing at least come up with titles and stuff. Yeah.
When they pick your title, all along you want them to pick your title, and then when they pick your title, you're like, wait, did I try hard enough? Did anybody try hard
Yeah, compare this to like when this book came out, there were like probably hundreds of titles we ran through, and I still think none of them were all that good.
Well, the titles are hard. Titles really are hard. But are you ready to play this game real quick?
Oh yeah. You have more of those Victorian things I don't know anything about. Yeah, Victorian slang words. Yeah.
I'm going to give you some easy ones. You're gonna know some of them. Bags o' mystery.
What is it?
Bags o' mystery.
If it were singular, I would have thought it was like a euphemism for like, you know, the grotto of Eden or whatever you used to hear in old the purple prose romance novels, like her mysterious grotto or whatnot.
This is not a sex thing.
Oh, this is not.
It's not. What bags of mystery, and anybody watching, if you have a guess, chime in. Bags of mystery.
I haven't the slightest idea what it.
It's a sausage.
But I guess that is right, because it is kind of mysterious what goes in that. So you were right in that they were either loose women, drunk men, or sausages.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, here's another one. Real fishy about the gills. He looks fishy about the gills.
Oh. Just he looks suspicious? What?
Hungover.
Hungover. Yeah, I should have gone with drunk men. Yeah, of course.
Okay, this is the last one. And I've heard this. I didn't know what it referenced, but I feel like you will definitely.
I feel like I've heard fishy about the gills, but I drew a blank nevertheless.
When put on the spot.
Yes.
The Queen's weather.
The Queen's weather. Is that the weather in like June?
Mm-mm.
Oh, what is it? I don't know that I've heard that one.
It's good weather because apparently for like a stretch of time, every time Queen Victoria appeared, it happened to be a beautiful day. So the Queen's weather is what you call good weather. Feel free to use that because it's good. Sherry,
I might use fishy about the gills because in a mystery novel, there's got to be somebody who's hungover.
How about church bell?
That's a slang?
She's a real church bell.
Oh, she gets rung up as much as a church bell.
A talkative woman.
Oh.
I don't know. Pretty good.
So now the loose woman, not just a loose-lipped one.
I got one more.
Oh.
Gas pipes.
Are they similar to gas bags?
Gas pipes. This refers to clothing, and particularly men's clothing. Gas pipes.
I've heard about a stovepipe hat. I think maybe. Gas pipes. Are they referring to those striped trousers?
They are referring to especially tight trousers.
Oh.
There we go. That's a game of what are they actually.
Did men in the Victorian era wear especially tight pants?
Well, that's what it said on the website. I mean, I don't actually know the total years around the Victorian England. I just believe it when all my favorite romance authors tell me it's Victorian England. That's where I get all of my.
Victorian England is a long time from like.
It's a long time.
Yeah, from 10 years after the Regency or something like that to actually I don't know when did the Regency end. Because I'm not a Regency author, so I was never quite sure.
You're the historical.
Yeah, but I don't have to know when the Regency ended since I wrote like 80 years after that or something. I only know enough history to go look things up online to know where to start.
Victorian is after Regency, right?
It's long after. She came to the throne on 1837. Yeah. And like real Regency was only like up till like 1810 maybe.
Yeah.
When the Prince Regent actually became king, so he was no longer regent. I'm sure somebody in your chat knows more about this and will be like scandalized that I can't name the dates right away.
Well, Sherry, thank you so much for coming to spend the time. Thank you
It's
for
been so much fun.
It's always good to see your face.
It's
Everybody out
lovely
there,
to see yours.
stay home, stay safe, have a drink, read a book. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.